evening, everyone. Welcome in to Vol Society Live on this Tuesday night. My name is David Morrison. I am the Vol Society lead analyst, and we are 11 days away until it is football time in Tennessee. Welcome aboard on this Tuesday night. Go ahead and give shout-outs to Stacy and, of course, our founder, Brad, leaving us a like on Facebook. So, early shout-outs to y'all. This is a big show tonight. This is the official Vol Society 2023 season preview special. We are going to run down the 2023 Tennessee Volunteer football team. Our founder, Brad, is in the chat room saying, "Go Vols." And, of course, if you want to be a part of the show, if you want to leave a question, a comment, go ahead. Leave your questions and comments on where you're watching us on our social media platforms, whether it's on Facebook, on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and YouTube. And, of course, I'll just go ahead and pop that up right there. And also, while you're there and listening to me, also visit the official Vol Society store. There is the website at the bottom of the screen. Like I said, I'm very excited to talk about this 2023 Tennessee football team. We're going to, like I said, break down this team kind of one more time as we are exiting out of fall camp, going into game week, which our first opponent is the Virginia Cavaliers. And, of course, also tonight, I will give my official prediction for the 2023 Tennessee Volunteer football season. All right. Also, while you're here, we got a good viewership. For those wondering about the podcast, Good Old Rocky Talk is coming back next week, right before Virginia week. It'll be our founder, Brad. It will be myself, the other David, David Dees. A part of this, we're going to break down the Virginia game coming up, kind of talk about a little bit of a season preview besides, what I'm talking about tonight. Like I said, questions, comments, everything along there. Brad's already given his prediction for the year. I'll have to read that in a moment. But yeah, Good Old Rocky Talk podcast returns next week across our social media platforms. And of course, we're also available on Spotify, and I'm trying to remember the other. Yeah, Apple Podcasts and many others. Kenzie's saying, "Go Tennessee Volunteers, go Big Orange," watching for Facebook. Thank you, Kenzie, for tuning along. All right. And also Brad saying 10 wins could be 11 wins. Well, we'll see. I'm kind of leaning a little bit that way. Well, we shall see. All right. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Let's start off recapping last year. All right. So the Tennessee Volunteers, and we've talked about the 2022 season quite a bit on kind of these off-season shows, if you will, but just a very minute recap. Tennessee coming off an 11-2 season, Orange Bowl champions, defeating the Clemson Tigers, 6-2 in the SEC. Most wins since 2007, most SEC wins since 2007. Tennessee 7-0 at home, and of course, some big games at Neyland Stadium, and of course the big one, obviously the Alabama game, which we pretty much just tore the whole town down and throw our goalposts in the Tennessee River and everything. We all know that game. We'll be talking about that the rest of our lives. Tennessee went 3-2 on the road. Of course, a couple of big blowout wins on the road at LSU and, of course, at Vanderbilt. And then a overtime victory over Pitt. And, of course, I'll go ahead and mention the losses. Georgia and South Carolina was the two losses last year. Both came on the road. And then 1-0 at neutral site game, which was the Orange Bowl game. So quite a bit. And, like I said, leave your comments and questions for me. Okay. We already know last year. It was great. And now we move on to 2023. All right. So Josh Heupel, talk about our beloved head coach, Josh Heupel, coming into his third season at the University of Tennessee, 18-8 in his short time at the University of Tennessee, 10-6 in the SEC. Overall, 46-16 in his coaching career, and that combines his record not only at Tennessee but also at UCF. So Josh Heupel he will get his 50th career win in his coaching career sometime this year. Probably, I would say sometime in September, but you never know. But like I said, Josh Heupel, like I said, under contract at the University of Tennessee until 2029. So pending anything crazy happens, hopefully not, should be a good. Read a comment from Brittany. Met Joe Milton at Walmart a few days ago. He's a super nice guy. So excited for the season. Oh, thank you for watching along. And that's awesome. You ran into Bazooka Joe at the Wally World. Probably picking up a few things. Brad's saying Josh is the best thing to happen to Tennessee in years. Absolutely. That and Danny White. Yeah, absolutely. Real quickly, I don't want to sidetrack too much. But did y'all see the clip Tony Elliott, the Virginia head coach, was talking about that? Talking about, yeah, Tennessee is a good program. Thought about coming to Tennessee, but he turned it down to take the Virginia job. And then Danny White came out and said, I never really offered the job to to Tony Elliott. So interesting scenario there right before Tennessee takes on Virginia. So, you know, I mean, yeah, Tony Elliott's not setting the world on fire down in Virginia. Brad said Danny is the man. Absolutely. All right, so that's kind of a look at. We already know who everybody is. We know the coaching staff. Tennessee does have a new offensive coordinator in Joey Hazel, as Alex Golesh has taken the job at South Florida. Wish Alex Golesh the best of luck down in Tampa, leading the South Florida Bulls. And like I said, no, and with these, like I said, we haven't had any major coaching turnover. I mean, we've had a couple of position coaches, and like I said, obviously a new offensive coordinator, but it's still in the streamline of what Josh Heupel wants and streamline the University of Tennessee. So you're not losing any chemistry, or you're not losing any continuity, the language that they use, and everything is, like I said, working really good, unlike the Titans. Brad says Vols by 50 next week. Awesome. Kenzie says, I'm happy that Peyton Manning's coming back to teach. Yes, I forgot to mention that last week, Kenzie. Peyton Manning this fall is going to be teaching a class of some sort of class this semester. And yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people excited about that and ready to uh, sign up for that class. Thank you for mentioning. I totally forgot to mention that last week. Thank you, Kenzie, for reminding me. Brian says, Professor Manning. Jillian says, go Vols. Thank you, Jillian, for watching along. All right, so let's talk about the players. Start off with the quarterbacks. Obviously, we talked about him just a minute ago. One of our listeners ran into him at Walmart, and that is Bazooka Joe Milton. So Joe Milton last year came in. Obviously, the start of the 2022 season started as a backup. Hendon Hooker goes down the South Carolina game. Done for the year. Joe Milton stepped up and started the last two games, two crucial games, in my opinion, against Vanderbilt, who was kind of red hot for a moment, trying to get to a bowl game. Tennessee, licking their wounds in that South Carolina game, but Tennessee went to Nashville, took care of business. And then going into the Orange Bowl game, is kind of spectacism of, is Joe the man? Is he going to lead Tennessee to an Orange Bowl victory? Obviously, he silenced the critics in that one and got the win there. Let's see here. Okay, Brad's wondering who's all going to the game next week in Nashville. So Joe Milton last year, like I said, combined doing mop-up duty and the two starts, ended up the season with 971 yards passing, 10 touchdowns. No interceptions, which in a way I was kind of surprised reading that, which obviously Tennessee didn't turn the ball over with both Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton, so I shouldn't really be that surprised, but it also kind of surprised me too. But he had a QBR rating of 83.8, 64% completion percentage, and, the sky is limited for Joe Milton, especially with the players that's around him, his supporting cast. A lot of playmakers on this team. Like I said, the big thing for Joe Milton is, yeah, he's got the big arm. He can throw it a country mile down the field, throw the football over the mountains. But, like I said, can he be consistent week in and week out? Are we going to see the Joe Milton from a couple years ago? Kind of just struggling a little bit with Bowling Green and Pitt, or are we going to see the Joe Milton we saw against Vanderbilt and Clemson? So that's going to be the big key factor. Like I said, I really think, going into Virginia, I think Tennessee will do fine. And I know I'm giving a little preview of my predictions, but I think Tennessee, I think, is going to do fine with the first couple opponents, Virginia and Austin Peay. But I'm really interested to see how he does against Florida and UTSA. And we'll break it all down later on. Brad says inside source says he's looking amazing right now. Yeah, I think I know that inside source you're talking about there, Brad. Maybe a fellow VFL. You never know. All right, but yeah, Joe Milton, and of course the backups. And I'm not going to break down every player on the team because I'm going to forget. But I'll go ahead and mention Nico Iamaleava, the backup, 5-star freshman from Long Beach, California. Everybody's excited to see Nico play eventually. I say you got a 99.99999% chance of seeing Nico play against Virginia and Austin Peay. So, like I said, if you want to see Nico play, really cheer on the Vols so they can really blow out these opponents in the first half, and then have Joe sit the rest of the way, and then have Nico come in. And Nico's looking really good from what I'm hearing in training camp. He's been kind of practicing with the 2s and the 3s, not really as a punishment to practice with the 3s, but just kind of get some familiarity with the playbook and stuff. And he's kind of been running for his life, apparently, what I'm hearing in camp. But yeah, I don't think it's a huge concern, in my opinion. Tommy watching along says, so ready for our Volunteers to have another great season. Absolutely, Tommy. And thank you for tuning in. Brad says it's going to be a great year. Absolutely. So there's kind of look at the quarterbacks. Obviously, you still got Gaston Moore, who was kind of, I guess, the MVP of the orange and white game. I'm sure Gaston will probably see the field sometime. And then the others like Navy Schuler and stuff. But anyways, so that's the quarterbacks. Main focus is on Joe Milton. He's going to be what drives this team, what drives this offense into the season. All right, running backs. I'm very excited about our running backs. And I don't think they're getting talked a whole lot. But returning back, you got really your top 3 rushers are returning back: Jalen Wright, Jabari Small, Dylan Sampson. Jalen Wright finished the season last year 875 yards, 10 touchdowns. He had a couple receiving touchdowns, so 12 total. Jabari Small, 734 yards, 13 touchdowns for him. Dylan Sampson, 397 yards, 6 touchdowns. And if you combine all 3 of these running backs together, Tennessee returns back 2,006 yards of rushing offense from these 3 running backs only. 2,000 yards is coming back, folks, next year for your running backs. 19 total touchdowns for all 3 of them combined. That is an amazing stat that I kind of found out about it. But I mean, that's unreal. Brad says, "Did you hear about the special teams coach this week talk about the kicker?" No, I haven't. Hadn't got into that one. But yeah, I'm excited about these running backs coming back. Like I said, once I break it down the offensive line a little bit, I think there's a little bit of concern. But like I said, you got a lot of experience coming back. 2,000 yards returning back. That's amazing. All right, wide receivers, tight ends. So wide receivers and tight ends. A lot of fans are excited about this too. Obviously, you lose the Blitnikoff winner, Jalen Hyatt, which, by the way, 11 days until it's football time in Tennessee. So it's like, okay, so you lose Jalen Hyatt, your Blitnikoff winner. Guy was just explosive all season. Well, is anybody coming back to fill that in? Well, yeah. You got Brew McCoy coming back, 52 catches, 667 yards, 4 touchdowns. And by the way, Brew McCoy NIL signed a really heartwarming NIL deal this week. Okay, let me read this about Brad. Excuse me. It says about his athleticism and how he run like a 4.40. How many fake punts we will do? Who knows? Maybe one if it depends on who we play. And Brad, can you hope you don't mind commenting? What is Brew McCoy's NIL deal? I want to make sure I get this right about the it's basically to raise awareness for cardiac arrest and machine. I know I'm going to slip and forget it, so I want to make sure I get this right. But Brew McCoy, 667 yards, coming back 4 touchdowns, 52 receptions. Ramel Keaton, 31 catches, 562 yards, averaged 18 yards per catch, 5 touchdowns. Returning back, of course, everybody remembers the big catch he had in the Florida game where he dove and caught it, which was a crucial play last year. And then Squirrel White, a lot of Brad said, Brew's the man. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, hopefully, Brad, did you hear me about what his NIL deal is as far as the cardiac arrest thing? Um, Squirrel White, 30 catches, 481, 16 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns. And if you want to do the math in that, Tennessee returns back over 1,700 yards just for these three wide receivers and returning offense coming back. So, I mean, that's 3,000 yards returning back as far as 6 players go. So, like I said, going back to the quarterbacks, especially with Joe Milton, you got some playmakers. Like I said, obviously you're not going to see Tennessee throw in the backfield a whole lot, but you're going to see a lot of points scored with this offense. Kenzie with the heart emojis. Thank you. Yeah, it's just amazing there. But like I said, trying to see something else I was going to say. It slipped my mind. Oh well, forget it. But anyways, the tight ends. Jacob Horn returns back as tight end. 12 catches, 163 yards. I know what I was going to say. Also. Dante Thornton. So Dante Thornton, a transfer from Oregon, is on the Tennessee team. Uh, had a pretty decent season last year for the Ducks. Like I said, a lot of people think he's probably going to be that next breakout wide receiver. We saw it with Cedric Tillman 2 years ago. Jalen Hyde this year. Everybody's saying Thornton is probably going to be it. Okay, Brad finally heard me. Every touchdown that Brew McCoy gets, he gets every touchdown Brew McCoy gets, he donates an AED machine for him for people who need them for cardiac arrest. So there you go. And I know, like somebody in the comments mentioned as we made that post, they're very expensive. So this is a huge deal. Like I said, I know in the days of NIL, a lot of people kind of get who need them for people. Okay, thank you, Brad. Like I said, I know in the days of NIL, people just kind of cringe of the paying players and, all is about me, me, me. This is not the case right here. And Brew McCoy is using NIL in a correct way, or one of the many correct ways you can use NIL. So absolutely. We mentioned Dante Thornton. I'm excited to see what he does, the transfer from Oregon. Maybe, Caleb Webb, Chaz Nimrod, some of the freshman wide receivers. I'm sure you'll see them play a little bit, especially probably in mop-up duty. But like I said, I think you're really going to see McCoy, Squirrel White, Keat, and then Thornton. It's interesting to see whether they're going to kind of fit Thornton into all of this. Offensive line. Obviously, probably the talk of camp as far as like concern goes, as far as change this over. As far as like Cooper Mays' injury goes, so Cooper Mays injured with I think he got an ankle injury early on in fall camp. So there's some concerns with, is he going to play in the Virginia game? Coach Heupel mentioned in an update that believes they will have an opportunity to get him back. So kind of cryptic there. But Tennessee had been shifting around some different centers. They tried Addison Nichols. It really wasn't working out. So they moved over Ollie Lane, who comes from left guard, over to center. And it seems like he has been the best benefit as far as snapping the ball goes and really getting this team to the line of scrimmage and ready to go on the next play. So we'll see what happens this year. Brad says that's the biggest thing we need this year, protection. I hope the O-line is good. That to me is probably what's really going to drive this team too. Like I said, you want to get Cooper Mays back, obviously, but if Ollie Lane's doing all right, that's fine too. You do return back Gerald Mincy, who goes from left tackle over to right tackle due to Tennessee picking up John Campbell, a transfer from the Miami Hurricanes. He's kind of listed as left tackle. And then your guards positions, you still got Jeremiah Crawford coming back. You got uh, Tommy says Brew McCoy should have. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Brew McCoy should have a nickname, Brew the Beast. Yeah, that's a good one there, Tommy. uh, yeah, but getting back to the offensive line there, you also got Andre Carrick, a transfer from Texas. Uh, So there's potential on the offensive line. Like I said, it's just kind of the center position, and I guess some of the guard positions is still kind of up in the air. Hell to my grandparents watching along. Tommy corrected himself with Brew. I got you there. So yeah, like I said, what Brad said, that's going to be the key factor of can Tennessee really have a salvage a great season? I still think they're going to have a great season, but that is kind of concerning not having your starting center out there. Defensive line, Ronnie Gardner's guys. I'm excited to talk about these guys too. So it's on this other page here. Here we go. All right, so the defensive line, like I said, you lose Byron Young off to the NFL, to the LA Rams. Wish him best of luck. But Tennessee still got a lot of talent on this defensive line, starting with the big O, Amari Thomas. Amari Thomas, 27 tackles last year, a couple of sacks. I think he's going to be kind of what Matthew Butler did a couple of years ago. Matthew Butler, kind of a name on the team in Josh Heupel's first year. Yeah, somebody that but really broke out and ended up getting an NFL contract. I think Amari Thomas can have a Matthew Butler type of a season, just disrupt the middle. He's going to line up right smack dab in the middle of the defensive tackle. And I think he's going to wreak havoc. Obviously, I think he's going to get double teamed quite a bit. But I think, any running back in the SEC is going to have a hard time getting around Amari Thomas. I'm very excited to see what this team's going to do. Brad says D-line is going to be the killer. Yeah, absolutely. Very excited to see what he does. Tyler Barron on the edge. He's going to be replacing Byron Young. 22 tackles last year, 2.5 sacks. This is a big opportunity for Tyler Barron to really step up. He's kind of floated aimlessly, to be honest with you, on that defensive line. Look like last year he was going to transfer. He came back. So it seems like he's finally, from what I've heard, maturing as far as a player and maybe behavior a little bit. He never really was a trouble guy, just probably um, just a little lackadaisical in kind of how he approached the game a little bit, but it seems like he's really improving. So we'll see what Tyler Barron does. Excited to see Bryson Easton, which for some reason I forgot to put him on the Meet the Vols series. I don't know why I forgot him. But anyways, 18 tackles, a sack and a half last year for him. One injury note from last Thursday scrimmage, Elijah Simmons, another big defensive tackle, Omari Thomas's backup, got hurt in scrimmage. Looks like he's going to miss some time. Didn't really give a timetable. I really was excited to see what Elijah Simmons can do. I thought he could have really contributed out, but unfortunately, getting hurt, just at the wrong time where you kind of need some depth, a little bit on the defensive line. I mean, it's not terrible. It's not a terrible loss because you still got a lot of guys coming in, but I think Elijah Simmons could have been a big factor on this defensive line. Also got Dominic Bailey, Omar Norman Lott transfer from Arizona State. Another big guy to watch out for this year. The freshman David Hobbs, I think he'll get some playing time. And then like Karat Garland, Tyree West. So you'll see a lot of guys coming there, but your main three you're probably going to see is Barron, Thomas, Eason, and then probably like Dominic Bailey will come in from time to time. All right, secondary. Oh, actually, no, I take that back. We're going to linebackers first. We'll talk about secondary because I kind of want to dive in a little bit there. Linebackers. Starts with Aaron Beasley. He is the quarterback of this defense. Had a great Orange Bowl game. If it wasn't for Joe Milton going off in the Orange Bowl, I think Aaron Beasley probably could have won that Orange Bowl MVP. And I mentioned that before. But 39 tackles, or 39 solo tackles on the year, 76 overall, 13 tackles per loss last year. I mean, that's significant compared to the rest of the team. I think Byron Young also had I think 11 or 12 tackles for loss, and we already mentioned he's gone off to the NFL. But Aaron Beasley, I'm excited to see. He changed his number over from 24 to 6, so when you're watching that, You're wondering who number 6 is. Well, that's Aaron Beasley. Same thing with Jalen Wright. He's going to be number 0 at running back instead of 20, I think he had last year. But Aaron Beasley, I know that this is a big, big player on the defense. I think not only a future NFL draft pick, but like I said, future probably all SEC player, maybe flirt with All American if he really goes all out. But we shall see. Like I said, one of the best linebackers in the SEC, and definitely the best. I would say probably the best defensive player on this team by far, Aaron Beasley. Roman Harrison, another linebacker, 40 tackles, 3 sacks, 7 tackles per loss. I think another key factor, along with Aaron Beasley. Those two guys are going to have to really have a good year. Transfer from BYU, Keenan Peely. Read his numbers really quick. He had 36 career games at BYU, 24 starts, over 190 tackles. That's a lot of playing time. 95 solo tackles, 3 sacks. So I'm excited to see what Peely can contribute into this Tennessee defense and this linebacking core, especially when you got a true freshman linebacker in Arian Carter that's getting a lot of hype and quite a lot of playing time, maybe starting by the end of the season. I'm not wishing like anybody to regress or have injury, but I think Arian Carter is the future at linebacker. And this linebacker core is really good. You also got Joshua Joseph, who played quite a bit last year. He's back. Elijah Herring, Caleb Herring. Just some good core linebackers. Pretty depth for the most part. All right, so now we go to the secondary. This is the one I think a lot of Vol fans are concerned about this year. Obviously, Tennessee last year, 124th against the pass last year. It was pretty ugly, and obviously in that South Carolina game, it really showed dividends. So you got a lot of guys coming back, which I guess can be a good thing and a bad thing. But we'll start with Danico Slaughter. So Danico Slaughter probably had the best defensive play last year, where in the Kentucky game where he just ramrocked that Kentucky guy, forced the fumble, and then now former Tennessee linebacker Juwan Mitchell ended up picking that off and going on. Brett says our inside source says they are better than last year. I hope so. Like I said, I think this is the one where a lot of Tennessee fans are going to be kind of interested to see him this year. But Danico Slaughter's back. 31 tackles last year, had an interception. He's pretty much locked at one of the corner positions. Last year was just kind of a bit of a rotating carousel as far as who was starting goes and trying to find the right combination, and none of them worked. But Danico Slaughter, I think, is going to be locked into that one of those corner positions. The other one's probably going to be like Brandon Turnage. Brandon Turnage needs to have a big year. 17 tackles last year, 1 interception. Transfer from Alabama, former 5-star guy, high school player. Not really lived up to the expectations as I thought, but I think he needs to really step up. Excuse me, get a swig here. But, I think Brandon Turnage needs to step up big. Wesley Walker, transfer from Georgia Tech from a couple years ago, going to be also added depth. Jalen McCullough, Tank McCullough, 58 tackles last year, 4 tackles per loss. Kind of had some off-field issues. We mentioned that a number of times. Hopefully he's ready to go. Warren Burrell, another guy that's actually been starting at the star position due to Tamarian McDonald's injury. But Tamarian McDonald, I'll mention him really quick. 55 tackles last year, 2 interceptions, 4 tackles for loss. Matter of fact, the very first play of the 2022 season against Ball State, Tamarian McDonald had a pick. But he's been injured in fall camp. Warren Burrell has been filling in for him. Warren Burrell only played 2 games last year due to injury and, I guess, performance. So this is a big opportunity for Warren Burrell, kind of thrown into the fire right out of the gate, and I really hope he can turn his play around and really step up. And then Kamal Haddon, 51 tackles last year, 2 tackles per loss, couple interceptions, including the interception to seal the win against Florida. The former transfer from Auburn. I think a lot of these transfers I mentioned, Turnage, Haddon, Andre Turrentine, another guy transferred from Ohio State, Wesley Walker, Georgia Tech. I think these guys really need to step up too, as far as like, we brought them in to, I mean, they're filling the role in and, at times looking good, but I think they can still contribute a little bit better. So, like I said, this is where I kind of had the most concerns. A transfer from another BYU transfer, Gay Judy Lally. Last time we showed the depth chart on Vol Society Live, he was actually started at one of the corner positions. And then when I went to our Lance, who kind of keeps up with the depth chart for the most part, he's now dropped to third string. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I think he'll play. I'm not sure what kind of the deal is there, if he's regressing or if it's just Lance just kind of being them on their own mindset. But we'll see what happens. But you got a lot of young talent coming aboard. Jordan Thomas, Christian Charles, couple sophomores, and then the freshmen, Jordan Matthews, Ricky Gibson, Jeremiah T. Christian Conyer, and maybe Jack Luttrell can play. And then we'll wrap up with special teams. Transfer from Indiana, Charles Campbell, I believe is his name. He'll be replacing not Aaron Beasley, Chase McGrath. He'll be replacing Chase McGrath at kicker. Jackson Ross, the Australian punter, and then Brad mentioned about one of the kickers running a 4.4 40. So who knows? We may see that. And of course, probably the star of the special teams, our kickoff and punt returner D. Williams. Took one to the house last year against Vanderbilt. I think he was a freshman All-American last year. I expect to see D. Williams to really continue on from last year. I expect to see a lot of teams try to kick away from him and try to prevent him from returning. So we shall see from there. All right, so that's kind of look at the 2023 team. I'm excited about it. Before we get to my predictions, go ahead and give a few more shout-outs. And I'm just reading from what I can pick up here. So if I miss your name, I apologize. Facebook just kind of only gives me a certain amount of names. But shout out to Tim, Jeremy, Travis, Randall, Good Plumber, Michelle, Joey, Scotty, Robert, Tommy, Jillian, Kinsey, Amy, Stacy, and my dad. So the shout-outs on Facebook, and if I miss your name, I apologize. It just only gives me a certain amount of lists. All right, here we go. Now we move on to David Morrison's 2023 season predictions. So go ahead and pop up on playoffpredictor.com. It's a little small. Let me go ahead and hide these ads because they don't sponsor Vol Society. Oops, nope. Well, forget it. Okay, here we go. So, so here is the Tennessee 2022 schedule. I'm using playoffpredictors.com. This is a really cool little website if you want to predict football games, basketball games. They got college football. So I'll go through this really quick, each and every team. We'll start with Tennessee and Virginia. This is in Nashville. I expect Tennessee to blow out this opponent. Virginia, like I said, coming off an emotional season, obviously, a season they didn't want to have the first year under Tony Elliott. I know we kind of picked on him a little bit, but he went through a lot last year. They lost a lot of talent. We'll really break down this Virginia team next week, but Tennessee, in my opinion, starts the season 1-0. Austin Peay taking on Tennessee. This is the home opener. Tennessee wins. I expect a lot of guys to play in that game. Now we come to the third game. Tennessee going to the Swamp to take on Florida. It was a close game last year in Knoxville. Tennessee has not won in the Swamp since 2003. Anthony Richardson's gone at quarterback. He's now at the Indianapolis Colts. You bring in Graham Mertz, a transfer from Wisconsin. This is still a talented Florida team, but I think Tennessee is more talented than them. And I'm going to take the Volunteers to win at the Swamp on the third week in September, if you will. Tennessee comes back home to take on a very tough UTSA Roadrunners team. UTSA, for those who may not pay attention to the group of 5 or group of 6, whatever they're called, UTSA, back-to-back 10-win seasons. They were I think defending Conference USA champions. They now move up from Conference USA to the American Conference due to conference football realignment and everything. This is a top 25 matchup right here. UTSA should be ranked in the top 25. They got a pretty tough week one opponent against Houston. This is a team that, in my opinion, what I'm really not concerned about, but I'm really to see if our secondary has really improved. UTSA runs a very similar offense that Tennessee runs, up-tempo style. They got a lot of guys coming back. Matter of fact, I think like 8 of the 11 starting lineup on the UTSA offensive team is returning back, including quarterback Frank Harris. This is going to be a kind of a wild game, but Tennessee's got more talent, so I'm taking the Volunteers to win. I know there's a lot to explain about UTSA, but this is a really this is a team we should not take lightly, just because they are, in a group of 5 conference. But this is a really good team. This could be a New Year's Six bowl game or bowl team. The revenge game everybody's talking about, South Carolina and Tennessee. So South Carolina spoiled Tennessee season last year. Now everybody's talking about revenge. We're going to beat them down like we did 2 years ago. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout game, but I think it's going to be a ravenous scene, to be honest with you. It's already sold out. Actually, matter of fact, this game's already sold out. So if you're looking for tickets, you're going to have to pick it up in the secondary market. Spencer Rattler's back at quarterback. South Carolina, they, like I said, they beat us and they turned around and beat Clemson, and then they lost their bowl game against Notre Dame. I think this is going to be a fist fight for 60 minutes, but I think Tennessee goes to 5-0 on the year. Tennessee goes into the bye week, and now we move on to Texas A&M. So Texas A&M, top 5 team last year, preseason top 5 team last year, had a shocking 5-7 season, didn't make a bowl game. Jimbo Fisher was calling the offensive plays. He now reverts over to a new offensive coordinator and former Arkansas head coach, former Louisville head coach, Bobby Petrino. He's been around college football for a long time. He was previously at Missouri State as their head coach for like a year. Of course, Bobby Petrino comes and goes as he pleases. So he becomes offensive coordinator. Looks like Case Keen's probably going to be the quarterback for A&M. This is going to be a fun little matchup here. I was going to take Texas A&M to win. I felt like this was kind of like an Ole Miss game where just something crazy could happen that they could pull out a win. But I'm actually going to change my pick. I'm going to take Tennessee to win. I expect this game to probably be like an overtime game, and the Vols should end up pulling out. All right, so now Alabama's revenge game against us. Tennessee, Alabama, third Saturday in October down in Tuscaloosa. I've mentioned Alabama a few weeks ago. I don't think teams are scared to play Alabama like they used to be, although I still think this is a very talented Alabama team. We'll find out who the quarterback's going to be, whether it's going to be Tyler Buchner, transfer from Notre Dame. Is it going to be Ty Simpson? Who Jada Melrose, whoever it's going to be. I just don't see Tennessee winning back-to-back seasons over Alabama. I think Nick Saban rarely loses to a team twice. Matter of fact, I don't think he's ever lost to a team twice. So I'm going to take Alabama to win. Tennessee gets their first loss. Tennessee goes on the road next week against Kentucky. This is going to be a tough game right here for the Volunteers. Will Levis now gone on to the Tennessee Titans. And now you bring in transfer quarterback from NC State, Devin Leary, a very good quarterback, had a great run at NC State. I think I've seen a lot of Vol fans actually taking this as a loss. I mean, Tennessee rarely loses to Kentucky, and I think Tennessee gets the win, but I expect to see another close game. It wouldn't shock me if this game goes to overtime. Like I said, Kentucky really hit the transfer portal hard this year. Not only picked up Devin Leary from NC State, picked up Ray Davis, running back from Vanderbilt, a very good running back who was at Vanderbilt. But I think Tennessee pulls out the win here. Homecoming, I'm going to run through these really quick here, well, except for this game. Homecoming against UConn. Jim Mora really turned this UConn team around last year. At that time, one of the worst teams in college football. He comes to Connecticut. gets them to a bowl game last year. So this team is a little bit more talented, but Tennessee should win that one very easily. Then Tennessee goes on the road to Columbia, Missouri to take on the Missouri Tigers. Um, Missouri is one of these teams you just never know what to expect. It seems like they're really good one week and then not so good the next week. Same thing when you go to Missouri. You know, it just depends on where Missouri's at by this point of the season. You can go to Columbia, Missouri, be a sold out crowd, and one year, then the next time you go, there might be 20,000 there. So it's just kind of a weird scenario. But I think Tennessee takes care of business, defeats Missouri. They got a really good, talented defensive line, so we'll see how Joe Milton handles that. But I think the Vols win. I understand why people are also kind of picking Missouri. This is the trap game right into Georgia, but I just don't see Tennessee falling victim to that twice. If not, there could be a little concerns here. All right, Georgia and Tennessee. In my opinion, the biggest game of the season for both teams. Obviously for Tennessee for significant reasons. We all know what happened last year with Alabama when they came to Knoxville and pandemonium reigns. But this is Georgia's toughest game of the year. They do not have, besides Georgia Tech, they don't have a tough non-conference opponent. Well, or really a tough game all year. Let me just clarify that. They were supposed to play Oklahoma this year, but they canceled due to them joining the SEC. That's too long to explain. But anyways, I think this Georgia team, they just announced Carson Beck as their starting quarterback. They lost a lot of talent, but they're the juggernauts of college football. I want to pick the upset so bad, but I think Georgia pulls ahead and gets the win. But I think this is going to be a more closer game this year at home than it was last year in Athens. And then Tennessee wraps up the season against Vanderbilt. Tennessee should win that one. I don't need to explain much about it. So Tennessee, I have finishing 10-2 on the year, 6-2 in the SEC, which kind of repeats last year. 5-1 in the division, 7-1 at home, 3-1 away. Even though these SEC standings are not accurate, just because I'm only picking the Tennessee schedule, but chances are we would finish second behind Georgia in the standing. So that's what I think. I think Tennessee finishes 10-2. They go to a bowl game and hopefully go 11-1. So that's what I think. Tennessee, in my opinion, Tennessee goes 10-2 on the year. I thought about picking 9-3. That A&M Kentucky game is going to be competitive. I think A&M is going to be better. I want to, especially with our secondary kind of going up against a Bobby Petrino offense that's kind of up tempo in its own way. But I do feel a little more confident being at home. And then Kentucky, like I said, we went down to Lexington or went up to Lexington since they're north of us. We went up to Kentucky a few times and kind of gotten some scrap battles over the years, and I can kind of see that a little bit. But like I said, we should learn a lot more about these teams once game week rolls around, whether they're good or bad or ugly. But yeah, I think the Volunteers finishes 10-2 on the season. All right. So that's a look at the 2023 Tennessee football season in general. Appreciate y'all listening. Don't forget the podcast returns next week. Good old Rocky Talk. Myself, David Ease, the founder, Brad Frank. We're going to break down the Virginia game next week in Nashville. Like I said, we got one more week. We actually got some games this week, week 0. I call it the appetizer sampler to college football. You got Navy and Notre Dame playing in Ireland, Vanderbilt representing the SEC playing Hawaii and Nashville, and then a few like group of 6 games featuring like Conference USA and Mountain West and yada yada. USC also plays Saturday against San Jose State, so like a little bit of a little bit of a sampler before we really dive deep into the Virginia game. Like I said, we're going to have a busy week for the Virginia game. I haven't got a graphic pulled up here, but during the Virginia week, we will have Josh Heupel's press conference on Mondays. So, I'll just go ahead and kind of tell the schedule throughout the whole season. So, Mondays, we will have Josh Heupel's press conference on Vols Society. We will share the video from UT. So whether you're watching at home, at work, on lunch, if you want to watch Josh Heupel's press conference, we will share that video out, and that's going to be every Monday. Usually it's around like 12:15 Eastern time when he does it. Then we will have All Society Live, which is now every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Like I said, with myself, we'll preview the game, recap the game, kind of what you've seen tonight in general. And then the podcast returns next week. I already mentioned that. Not sure what day we'll launch it on, but it will be sometime during game week. Going to be a lot of fun there. Tailgate Thursday returns back. So that is with myself, it's kind of a quick 5-minute college football weekend preview. I'm just going to say, here are the games this week and give like a quick preview, quick drive-through episode of, I guess you can say, Vols Society Live, but it's called Tailgate Thursday, just a college football weekend preview on Thursday. And we also started last week the Vols Society High School Game of the Week. Last week it was IMG Academy from Florida taking on Lipscomb Academy in Nashville. IMG Academy won that game 35-10. So our Vols Society High School Game of the Week, we head up to Knoxville. How appropriate. As we have Bearden and Alcoa, the Bears and the Alcoa Tornadoes. That's our Vols Society High School Game of the Week coming up this Friday. So a lot of stuff going on with Vols Society. Like I said, make sure you're following us on our social media account. 36,000 followers. Thank you very much. Another 1,000 followers following us on Facebook.com/UT Vols Society. Thank you very much. YouTube.com/Vols Society, where you can catch Vols Society Live and other cool stuff. And, of course, on Twitter, X, whatever they want to call it this week, at Society Vol. Also, make sure you go to the Vols Society store. This is crawling back across here. Like I said, we got T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, backpacks, duffel bags, cell phone cases. There it is. Vol/society.myshopify.com. That is the website for the Vol Society store. We'll share a link out on the Facebook page if you be a little easier to find. But anyway, so that's a look at the 2023 Tennessee football season preview. Thank you for everybody tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. Like I said, be kind, be respectful to each and every one of y'all. And we'll get ready for some football time in Tennessee as we are counting down. We are almost getting to the single digits. 2 more days of double-digit numbers, and then we will hit the single-digit numbers. But appreciate each and every one of you. God bless each and every one of you, and we'll talk to y'all next Tuesday night right here on Vols Society Live. Have a great night, and go Vols.